What a great day for being a pharmacist. I've checked some rashes, dispensed some drugs, and it's almost lunchtime. Nothing could possibly ruin this day. Hello, ma'am. How can I help you?
I woke up this morning with my eyes like this. Can I have some of that ointment you use for conjunctivitis?
It looks like you've got a sty. Yeah, I need some Chlorsig ointment now, please. I just use it for cuts and grazes and stuff. I jabbed my finger on a nail, and now it's looking infected. Well, yes, it's over the counter, but just...
I woke up with a gunky eye, and I had to wipe the dust away before I could open my eyes. Can I have some Chlorsig, please?
Your eyes seem fine now. Are they...
I would surely like some. It's over the counter after all. I want some.
Give us the Chlorsig. It's over the counter. Can I have some for my ghost?
Stop! I get it. You all want some Chlorsig, and I want to help you, but it's not that simple. Let me explain. We get requests in community pharmacy for medications to treat common ailments every day. Today, I'm going to focus on one of the more contentious issues faced by pharmacists, which is in the supply of the antibiotic chloramphenicol, commonly known as Chlorsig. I'm going to explain the laws around the supply of this medication, touch briefly on the history of antibiotics and the risks posed to them, and finally identify common eye infections and scenarios where chloramphenicol would be appropriate to use. So let's get started. Whilst it is true that chloramphenicol is available over the counter in Australia, there are a few rules and laws around its sale. To better understand this and the sale of all medications, we need to understand scheduling. Any medication or poison commercially available is put into a national numbered schedule based on its complexity of use or risk of harm to individuals. In Australia, this is known as the Standard Uniform Scheduling of Medicines and Poisons, the SUSMP, or just the Poison Standard. The document is freely available online, and the link for those keen enough to have a look is in the description below. Medicines and poisons are broken down into 10 different schedules, with 1 being the least harmful to 10 being very harmful. In pharmacy, we generally only concern ourselves with schedules 2, 3, 4, and 8. Schedule 2 is known as pharmacy medicines and is any medication available in a pharmacy that you can pick up off the shelf and are considered safe enough that the general public can use them by following the manufacturer's guidelines. Schedule 3 is known as pharmacist-only medications, which are kept behind the counter in pharmacy. Before they can be sold to a consumer, a pharmacist must be involved to ensure the safety and efficacious use. Then there is Schedule 4, which is medicine that require a doctor's prescription before sale is allowed, and finally Schedule 8, which are medications that have high addiction or abuse potential, such as opiates or psychostimulants. To make things interesting, some medicines can be found in multiple schedules, depending on the amount, strength, or scenario of sale. Chloramphenicol is generally found in Schedule 4, which means it requires a prescription for the sale, except in one specific scenario, which is in the case of treating uncomplicated bacterial conjunctivitis. This is where the misconception that it is freely available over the counter stems from. Whilst doctors and vets can and will prescribe it for any number of conditions, if you present to a pharmacy without a prescription and without a clear case of bacterial conjunctivitis, then legally, pharmacists cannot and will not supply. Chloramphenicol was first discovered in 1947 during what is known as the Antibiotic Golden Era. Between 1940 to 1960, literally hundreds of naturally occurring compounds with antibiotic properties were discovered, with only a handful found to be successful for use in humans. Chloramphenicol was isolated from the mold-like Streptomyces venezuelae bacterium found in dirt through the efforts of Park Davis pharmaceutical research chemist Mildred Rebstock. That chloramphenicol, then known as chloromycetin, was first successfully synthesized in a method that could be scaled up to market in 1949. As a broad-spectrum antibiotic, it was successful in treating diseases that until then had been difficult to manage, such as Rocky Mountain spotted fever, scrub typhus, and typhoid fever. In 3 years after going to market, chloramphenicol sales alone totaled $120 million for Parke-Davis Pharmaceuticals. How does a blockbuster, novel, broad-spectrum antibiotic end up in an over-the-counter eye drop used to treat bacterial conjunctivitis and other eye infections? In short, toxic side effects affecting patients' blood. Several years after being on the market, a review was conducted, and it found that when taken orally for any length of time, chloramphenicol greatly increased the risk of aplastic anemia and bone marrow suppression. Don't know what aplastic anemia is? Anemia is when you don't have enough red blood cells in your blood to carry oxygen around your body. Aplastic anemia is when your body stops producing new red blood cells, which results in you becoming anemic and can be fatal if not treated. Luckily, new antibiotics were discovered that didn't cause such problems, and since then, chloramphenical's use has been greatly reduced. You may still see it prescribed intravenously in rare infections that don't respond to other antibiotics, or in Chlorsig eye drops. As stated before, the golden era for antibiotic discovery has been and gone, about 60 years ago. Since then, it's been getting harder and harder to discover new antibiotics, and our current ones are getting less and less effective due to antibiotic resistance. To understand antibiotic resistance, basically imagine you have an infection. To get rid of it, you hit it with antibiotics, which kills 99% of the bacteria. However, one survives and evolves genes to make a protein which prevents the antibiotic from killing it in future. This bacteria now replicates itself, or even worse, shares these genes with other bacteria it comes into contact with. The next time you attempt to kill an infection with the same antibiotic, it is no longer effective. It's for this reason that everyone must be considered in the use of antibiotics. The more we use them, the more we promote the development of resistance. This is especially true for pharmacists and other health professionals involved in prescribing and sale of antibiotics. We don't want to see them used unnecessarily because we don't want to live in a world where they don't work anymore, and neither do you, trust me. Okay, so we don't want to use chloramphenicol willy-nilly, and we definitely don't want to take it orally. So what can we use it for? Pharmacists can prescribe it for a condition called Bacterial Conjunctivitis. Now there are 3 common types of conjunctivitis: allergic, viral, and bacterial. Now when we say conjunctivitis, what we're basically saying is inflammation of the conjunctiva. What is the conjunctiva, I hear you asking? Well, it is an organ that provides lubrication and protection to the eye via the production of mucus and tears. It lines the inside of the eyelids and provides a covering to the sclera, or white part of our eyes. To differentiate between the types of conjunctivitis, we need to look at symptoms. For bacterial, it will initially affect one, but both eyes may become infected. Infected eyes will be red, sore, like sand is in the eye, and they will produce a sticky yellow or green mucus. This type of conjunctivitis can be treated with a short course of chloramphenicol eye drops or ointment. Then there's viral conjunctivitis, which presents usually along with cold-like symptoms, but not necessarily. The eye or eyes will be red and sore. They won't produce gunky mucus. Instead, they will usually produce a watery or stringy fluid. This type of conjunctivitis is highly contagious, but not usually harmful, and does not require treatment, as infections are self-limiting. Finally, there is allergic conjunctivitis. This presents similarly to viral, however, it will affect both eyes, and the eyes, in addition to producing white stringy fluid, will also be quite itchy. You cannot and should not use chloramphenicol on a stye. A stye is a blocked and infected eyelash. They are harmless infections which are self-limiting, and the use of antibiotics is discouraged as they aren't necessary and would promote resistance. So if you get a stye, just relax. And whatever you do, do not try and pop it, as this will only make things worse. By placing a hot compress, so a tea towel soaked in warm water, over the eye for a few minutes morning and night, this may help soothe the stye and help bring it to a head. But other than this, just leave them alone. Whilst common conjunctivitis infections are generally harmless, there are other infections of the eye that can be sight-threatening and should be treated immediately. These infections include bacterial keratitis, herpes simplex virus keratitis, and endophthalmitis. How can you tell you may have one of these infections? Generally, if you have any of the following: pain, sudden blurred vision, are a contact lens wearer, pus production, light sensitivity, or any recent surgery or trauma to the eye, then it would be important to be checked by an ophthalmologist. If you are unsure what to do though, remember, you can always drop into your local pharmacy and get the pharmacist's opinion quick and easy. So remember, next time you've got a bung eye, come on down to your local Phriendly pharmacist. If we don't immediately sell you that bottle of Chlorsig, we have our reasons. Until your next refill, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay medicine wise.